So I'm making this video dedicated to POTS related stuff and ways to manage postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. If you don't know what that is, it's basically an orthostatic intolerance, which means the tachycardia is increased heart rate. Orthostatic is like when you stand, your heart doesn't pump enough blood, and that's what causes blood pooling and such. POTS affects almost every part of your body. You get light, because it's a nerve in your brain. It affects your stomach. It can affect your eyesight. Some people get blurry vision, like when you stand up too fast. Except that's prolonged for people with POTS. What else? Stomach problems, numbness, dizziness. There's just so much. I mean, those are what I experience. And everyone's different, which is why POTS is so complex. And there is no cure for it. There's not really medicine either for it. You can go on it's like salt steroids. It just increases your salt intake. I think it's called like Florinef or something. Florinef. I know there's 2 other medications. And then your other option is if you have really bad POTS, you probably have other conditions too. Like, I know POTS is linked to Ehlers Down syndrome. I don't know. It's called EDS. And gastrinal paralysis. It's GI for short. But those are all related to some people can't hold water in, or they can't digest food because POTS messes with your stomach so much. So, your next case in treatment would be IV fluids. And in some like extreme cases, people will need a port or a PICC line, which is a tube that either goes from your arm or right here into the, what is it? It's like a ventral. I don't know. It's too anatomically. It's too much science, but basically it's a tube that goes right above your heart, and that's how you get hydrated, so your heart stays full, so you don't get so much dizziness. So that's more of all the science part. But ways that people can manage with POTS, for me, my necessities are my oxygen meter, which also shows my heart rate. Some people have blood pressure because POTS affects your blood pressure too. One thing, if you do ever have, if you have medical conditions, it's always good to document everything so your doctor knows, so you have a better understanding and your doctor has a better understanding, because they're not with you all the time. So I write down my heart rates, what days are bad, the symptoms, all that. I put that all in here. Another thing I use occasionally, if I'm really active. I'm a really active person. So when I hike, I use this because it helps me with my balance. It's a trekking pole. It's basically a hiking stick. But it has indoor knobs. So if I have a really, really bad POTS day, I call them a flare-up. When I have really bad flare-ups, I end up using that. I've went grocery shopping with my mom using that. Another tip I actually learned from Pause and Love was to take a cloth headband and put it in cold water and just wear the cold water. Brain fog is another thing people with POTS have. Hair tie or bandana or whatever. So you just put it on your head, because people with POTS also have temperature issue. I can go outside in 63 degrees and still be hot. Or I get too hot, or I get too cold. Another thing is compressions. Compressions allow the blood flow to be more circulated, because with POTS, your vessels don't contract when they're supposed to. When you stand, your blood vessels are supposed to contract so blood circulation can be better. But POTS, it's it doesn't know what to do. I call it when I'm trying to explain POTS, I basically just say someone whose body doesn't understand gravity, because that's what it feels like. So that's what I use. And increase your water more than an average human should. I think it's 64 liters or something. Maybe that's ounces. I think it's 64 ounces. I can't remember. Salt increase. Sometimes if I have flares, it's just because I'm really sodium deficient. So salt increase. People with POTS, when they have digestion problems, I normally would drink like a protein shake, or I make a smoothie with fruits and stuff. Because I'm in school and we don't really have really good food, I've been starting to bring like grain bars, like Nutri-Grain bars, anything with a lot of sodium in it. I normally range from like 100 to 300 milligrams or grams of sodium in one serving. So that's also helpful. What else? I don't use these tools, but some people will use walkers with seats, wheelchairs. At first I thought I might need one because it was really bad, but I ended up pushing through that. So wheelchairs, crutches. I know people use they're forearm crutches, and I know the most popular brand that I've seen people with POTS use is Smart Crutch, and they use that as like a balance. POTS also affects you like fatigue wise. I get really tired randomly from POTS because you're using so much more energy than an average person. And that's another thing. With POTS, you really need to know your limitations. Like, you can't push yourself. And when you do, you will feel the effects for like a week or two. So like, just getting to know your body more when you start getting, like, if you get diagnosed with POTS, or you think you're getting diagnosed with POTS, or you think you have POTS, it's just good to recognize what's wrong with you, and it's good to recognize what pushes you. Like mall trips, going out with family. Like, I know I should be sitting most of the time, and if there's days where I don't feel good, or I feel just a little bit not good, I normally don't go out because I know it will end up in the bathroom vomiting, or I will feel like I'm about to pass out. So I think that's it with POTS. I'm going to do a couple more videos about other things too, like diagnoses and how to manage things. And I might do other diagnoses that I don't have and just ask people around and see what they think. But yeah, that is POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. I can say it better than my cardiologist.